Kush's movie review.
Yeah, buddy.
Welcome to Kush's movie review. If you are watching the standalone version of this clip on the YouTube channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and leave comments in the comment section about what you think about this movie. This week's movie is The Blue Beetle. It's about a talking car that goes and gets, he fancies, oh, it's the summer. I need a new look. And he gets a respray, and now he's glorious blue. The end.
That would
I,
be
I bet not many
such
people
a
get the
better
reference.
movie.
I bet not many people get that reference.
Is it Herbie the Love Bug that you're doing? Okay, good.
There we go.
I haven't seen that thing in forever. So, unfortunately, that is not the movie I saw. We saw The Blue Beetle. It is still part of Zack Snyder's DCEU universe.
So basically, spoiler alert, this movie has nothing, no points this movie because it's going to get forgotten about in a few years.
What's fascinating about this movie is it was originally going to be an HBO Max but it was still called, it was going to be an HBO Max release. And then the powers that be before Discovery bought Warner Brothers, they went like, we got something here. We should release this in the theaters. And I was like, all right, that's cool. I'm glad you guys could see past that. However, after seeing this movie, I don't know how the Batwoman movie got canceled when that thing was like 90% done. I don't give a shit about Batwoman. And I'm not on the crazy, we love Brendan Fraser train again. Like, I don't have a problem with Brendan Fraser. I've been loving Brendan Fraser. But then all of a sudden, the internet was just like, Brendan Fraser has to be protected with everyone's resources. No. Anyways, getting back to Blue Beetle. It's PG-13. It is an unnecessary 2 hours and 7 minutes. Jesus Christ. And it is directed by a man named Angel Manuel Soto. He's done nothing that you and I have seen. We don't know his work, but he's an independent director. Finally got a big budget film. Good for him. It is written by a dude named Gareth Dunnett Alcer. I don't know anything about that man either. And then it does star Xolo, name I can't pronounce correctly, but it's the gentleman from Cobra Kai, the Mexican, the Latinx character from Cobra Kai. You seen the Cobra Kai?
I watched the first season a while back, but I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
First season is very good. Second season is also good. Everything else after that, it starts degrading. But also starring George Lopez, and then for some reason Susan Sarandon's in this. She plays the villain, which is very weird. This movie was kind of doomed from the start. Have you ever seen a movie called The Guyver?
The Guyver or MacGyver?
The Guyver. But I understand why you would misunderstand me. The Guyver is a manga / anime that got an American adaptation in the early 90s. And it's basically alien supersuit falls from the heavens and Joe Earthman picks it up, and all of a sudden now he has superpowers and he's fighting the most scariest people alive. Oh, they're not even people. In that movie, they're all aliens. Anyways, this is very similar to that. It's based on a DC comic that I had never heard of prior to this. I don't know anything about its lineage. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. Just about a dude he was the first man in his family to go to college, and the family's all happy for him. And then once he graduates college, he just going from dead-end job to dead-end job until love interest, who has no real point in the movie. She's just there to literally hand him the Blue Beetle scarab.
It's nice of her.
Yeah, she's trying to get away from some bad guys, and she's like, "You need to hide this for me." And then one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden, the Blue Beetle is formed through Xolo. The movie's only okay. It's a lot of family, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just it's pretty goddamn boring, dude. And again, like Susan Sarandon is in this. I don't understand why she's there. It's lots of shades of Iron Man. You know, they took a lot of parts from Iron Man with this. She would be playing the
Pepper
Jeff
Potts.
Bridges character
Oh,
from
shit.
the first Iron Man.
Yeah, I know.
Jebediah so and so.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, that's fine. It's okay. This movie is a whole lot of nothing, dude. Like if it was 90 minutes, this would probably have been a better review. In fact, because this is an origin story and it's part of a universe that will be long gone as soon as Aquaman 2 makes its debut. Aquaman 2, FYI, is the final movie in the Zack Snyderverse.
Yay!
I guess. I guess. But yeah, this movie is a big fat nothing burger, unfortunately. And then in my personal opinion, to make matters worse, the advertising and the marketing for this movie wasn't. Look at this dope ass movie from DC Comics we got coming out. It's all. This is the first Latinx superhero ever seen on a motion picture screen. It's like that's also not true.
And also, from some of the trailers I've watched, obviously they have different trailers and different showing different bits. But the one I saw, it seemed, even though I knew it wasn't, but you'd be fooled by the trailer that this story is about a Hispanic man who has a superhero son. Like it focused way too much on the dad.
Actually, the dad in this is very nice. He's not George Lopez.
Oh yeah, no. He seemed, but you know, I mean, obviously, this whole point of the movie is, like you're saying, show superhero shit. Oh my god, that's so cool. But it just seemed like it was a movie about the dad. It's like, oh
yeah, they definitely tried to play up family like Fast and the Furious does, and they failed time after time after time again, and then trying to do the whole this is the first Latinx superhero. I don't believe that. I don't even believe that for the DCEU. So, what are my references? I'm sorry, I don't have any. So, if I'm wrong, don't sue me, but don't at me either, bro. It's unnecessary. This could have just been advertised. There was a movie that came out last fall called Bros, and Universal Pictures was declaring it as the first homosexual rom-com. And I was like, that's fucking stupid. That is also untrue. There's this channel called Logo, and it's filled with nothing but homosexual rom-coms. Oh, by the way, back in the late 90s, there's this little studio called TriStar Pictures. You now know them as Sony. They came out with a movie called The Birdcage, which was actually a homosexual rom-com. Also, family comedy. It was a family comedy.
It's a great fucking movie as well.
Great fucking movie as well. You said it, Mike Fish. Yes, sir. And you know what? They never leaned into that. But guess what? When Bros didn't make its mark, they started blaming the audience. Like, straight America didn't show up for this movie. Guess what? Gay America didn't show up for that movie either. So, sucks to be you guys. But by the way, everyone I know that saw Bros, and it was a very small number of people, also it's all right. It's fine. But it wasn't anything to write home about. And that is the same thing as Blue Beetle. The Mexican community didn't come out for this. The Latinx community didn't come out for this. They're like, all right, we'll see you on Netflix or Max or Net or whatever. We'll catch you later, Xolo.
Well, here's my theory as to why marketing a movie that way in 2023 is a bad idea. And again, I appreciate, with this, I appreciate I am a 37-year-old white male. So maybe my opinion isn't valid here. But I think in 2023 at this point, marketing something as heavily as like, look, it's a Latin superhero. Aren't we great that we made a Latin person a superhero? Is one, you're probably going to get, obviously, that certain type of person who's like, they're only doing that for diversity. I hate diversity, blah, blah, blah. So they're not going to see it. Mm-hmm. But then I imagine, again, I could be wrong, but I imagine you're going to get a large amount of the Latin community who are probably just going to be like, is this just gonna be a stereotype shit? Are you just doing this for the sake of it? Is this gonna be a terrible movie? Am I gonna hate watching this? Because you know what I mean? I just think
I hear what you're saying.
Just promote it as a regular movie, because if let's just say there is someone from the Latin community who is excited about seeing a Latin superhero, guess what? By watching the trailer, they'll be able to tell, and they'll go. They don't need. Look, Latin person. He looks like you, but they don't need that.
This next stat I'm going to drop on you might blow your mind, Mike Fish. So, representation keeps coming up these days. Again, it's 2023, like you just said. Gay America needs to come out for this movie. Asian Americans need to come out and see Joyride. By the way, Asian Americans did not show up for Joyride, which was,
nobody did.
By the way, funny fucking movie. More people should have saw the movie, and they did not. But the point I'm doing this is, do you know what the #1 television network is in the United States?
#1 television network?
Network, yes, sir.
Is it wait. Oh, it's there. Wait.
Just throw out a guess.
No, I can because fuck. It's is it fuck. Is it the I can't remember what it's called now. Is it the Spanish speaking network?
It is. It is one of the Spanish speaking networks. It's either Telemundo or Univision, and I get why you would get either one of those mixed up. But I'm
gonna say wait. I'm gonna guess. This is my educated guess. Just because they also show a lot of sport on this network, I'm gonna go with Univision.
I think if it's the network that's owned by NBC Universal, you are correct.
I think that's yeah. I think I'm right. I'll just say I'm right. Anyway,
let's just say it's Univision for the sake of this argument. Univision is the #1 television network in the United States, not the #1 Latin network, the #1 network blanket statement. Okay, and that is because all the Hispanics that come to this country, they're not trying to watch NBC and Law and Order. They're not trying to watch reruns of Everyone Loves Raymond. They want to watch the shit that they relate to. And guess what? It's Univision or Telemundo. I'm sorry. Again, I'm going to keep banging my head against that one. So it's marketing people think we're stupid. And, you know, to be fair, a lot of people don't know that stat. I'm the dork who knows that stat. And it's because I know that stat that I roll my eyes every time I hear, this is the first Latinx superhero. Missed me with all that shit, dude. This should have just been a good movie. It's unfortunately not a good movie. But also, like, I was seeing people in the Facebook groups going like, if this movie doesn't do well, there won't be another Latin superhero. It was like, you know what? You just don't know how to speak Spanish. Because I bet on Univision, I bet they got a couple Spanish-speaking superheroes. And I bet the show is pretty good. Okay? But you just don't know how to speak Spanish.
Netflix is some Indian superheroes you can watch. Like, maybe it's a Netflix. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, there is. If you want it, you can find it.
Yeah,
basically.
So, anyways, I wish this movie was better. It's kind of just a big fat nothing burger. I was bored. I was legitimately bored most of the time. I'm surprised I didn't fall asleep. You know what? Also weird. Venom 2 got it right. They made that, despite the fact it was a sequel, they made that bullshit 91 minutes long. And because of that, I was like, I kind of like this movie.
I didn't hate Venom 2, but
Venom 2 actually has the funniest scene I've seen in a long time that no one is talking about, and that's the scene where Venom breaks up with Eddie. They have a whole homoerotic lovers quarrel where Venom gets kicked out of the apartment, and then he goes to a rave for some reason. And then because I guess Venom has to eat people to survive, he eats some raver who is higher than a giraffe's eyelash. And then thus Venom ingests all the drugs he's eaten. So he just starts like just freaking out. And also people think he's just a dude in cosplay, just a dude in a costume. And so they aren't treating him like this alien symbiote. Like, that shit is hilarious. Like, for a movie I didn't want to like, that shit was hilarious. Wildly entertaining. Blue Beetle. I'm trying to find a reason to give it a 3, but it's a 2. It's a 2 out of 5. So I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's not worth repeat viewing. I would not watch it for 31 days in October.
I bet Zach Swope won't watch this multiple times either. He fucking loves doing it.
So, George Lopez is funny. By the way, George Lopez was in a Mexican superhero movie that I reviewed for the Bosnet 4 years ago called El Chicano. El Chicano, also a terrible name for a movie. I want to say the character's name was Vengador. By the way, Vengador is Spanish for Avenger. And when I left the theater, I went like, why don't they just call it Vengador? And then it took me like a day and a half to like, oh, because Marvel probably put the kibosh on that. You can't call this Mexican Avenger. So, yeah. One final thing before we end this review. People are everywhere, dude. You're an English gentleman who lives in New Jersey. So English people are everywhere. Japanese people are everywhere. Mexican people are everywhere. But when you take this Mexican family and put them in Miami, Florida, or DC's version of Miami, Florida, it's weird. Like every second that they bring up, we're Mexican, we get through stuff. I kept asking myself, why aren't they Cuban? Why aren't they Puerto Rican? Why aren't they Dominican? Like that's the major minority in Miami. Are those three? But for some reason, this family is Mexican. Obviously, all the actors are Mexican, but I did not understand that. I was like, why wasn't this in Los Angeles? Or if we have to have it in Miami, why weren't these people Cuban? That kept coming through my head. And again,
because Kush, there's a simple answer to this.
Oh, break it down.
Because when they were doing their research and they just typed in, where are there lots of Hispanics? Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, there's lots of Hispanics in Miami. Boom. They must all be Mexican because we are morons.
I would agree with you on that. But again, the writer and the director of this are of Latin descent. Like, again, the guy who directed this, Mr. Soto, his whole thing was like, I wanted to bring a Mexican-American to the big screen.
Know. Maybe it might have been one of the higher-ups who was like, if we're going to make this movie, I want it in Miami.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that is probably something as simple as that. But anyways, this movie could have been better, but because of current events, it's hollow. There's nothing to it. There's not going to be a Blue Beetle 2. Several people think this is part of James Gunn's new DC universe. That's not true. And if it performed better, maybe they would have squeezed him in, but that's not happening at all. No. And also, it came in at number 1. It finally dethroned Barbie after 5 weeks at the box office. But, like, you know, it brought in like 25 million, 30 million. It didn't bring in as much as Barbie did last weekend. So, so I guess you got that to be happy for, but that's also a Warner Brothers property, so who cares? Warner Brothers had a very great weekend. We'll just say that much. And then, yeah, it is what it is. So Blue Beetle, 2 out of 5.
That's all, folks.